Welcome and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our virtual Open Enrollment Fair session. During today's session, we will go over ASIFlex benefits for your flexible spending accounts. Before we get started, I would like to brief everyone on a couple housekeeping items. All attendees are muted and will be muted throughout the presentation. If you have a question, please type it in the Q&A box located on the bottom of your monitor. All questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Be informed that if you type a question in the Q&A box, everyone attending the session will not see your question nor your name. However, if you do have a confidential question, please contact the Benefits Division directly. Lastly, today's webinar is being recorded and a copy will be placed on the Benefits Open Enrollment website. At this time, I will turn it over to Katie Price, our presenter.
Okay, thank you. Like she said, my name is Katie Price and I am here with ASIFlex. And today we're going to do a presentation on the flexible spending accounts as well as the health reimbursement account, as well as which is also known as the HRA. So let's get started. So what are HRAs? They are health reimbursement arrangements, which are year-to-year accounts. The county contributes to the plan with any excess flex credits if you are not enrolled in a high deductible health plan or an individual plan. So up to $5,000 per calendar year. It's used to pay for current year expected expenses. So those expenses that you're going to be having regardless. Unused funds forfeit at year end. The HRA pays after the healthcare FSA. So if you choose to also participate in the healthcare FSA, the healthcare FSA will pay first, HRA will pay last. Going forward, there is a $570 carryover provision, and that is combined with the healthcare FSA. So on the 2022 year as well as 2023, it goes back to just the $570 carryover maximum, and that is combined with the healthcare. So only a max of $570 between the two accounts can carry over. And like I said, that is for the 2022 as well as 2023 plan years. So now let's look at what are FSAs. They are flexible spending accounts, which are year-to-year accounts where you set aside pre-tax dollars to pay for current year expected expenses. You may enroll in any health insurance plan. There are three types of accounts. The first type of account is the general purpose healthcare FSA, which cover things such as deductibles, co-pays, office visits, medical, dental, and vision. The second type of account is the limited purpose healthcare FSA, which is the HSA compatible plan. So if you have an HSA or your spouse has an HSA, you can enroll in the limited purpose. And that would cover dental and vision expenses only. The third type of account is the dependent care FSA. And this includes things such as daycare, after school care, preschool, and nursery school. So again, the healthcare FSA pays first, the HRA pays last if you're enrolled in both. The carryover is going back to just $570. And that is a combined amount with both the healthcare FSA and the HRA in 2023. And then also there will be no carryover for the dependent care in 2022 or 2023. So it's all going back to pre-COVID. So in 2021, you were allowed to carry over the full amount. That's all going away. So you're only allowed to carry over $570, which is a combined amount with the healthcare FSA and the HRA. And then there is no carryover for the dependent care. So how does it work? It's easy. You need to estimate your expenses that you expect to incur during the year. You make pre-tax contributions each day to your FSA. You then incur eligible expenses during the plan year. You submit a claim, and then you can be reimbursed to your banking account or via check. So this is a nice breakdown of what the benefit of an FSA is. So this breaks down how pre-tax savings saves you money. So let's say your expenses are $4,000 in daycare each year. Your healthcare expenses are $2,000 each year. So without an FSA, your annual income is $50,000. So if you do not have an FSA, of course, you don't have any pre-tax contributions going into the FSA. So your taxable income is the full $50,000 that you made that year. And it's estimated that you pay about 30% in taxes. So that means you would pay $15,000 in taxes. So now let's look at that example with an FSA. So your annual income is $50,000. You have pre-tax contributions in total of $6,000 that comes out of your paycheck before taxes ever touch that money. So then your taxable income is reduced. So then you're paying only $13,200 in taxes due to that taxable income amount being reduced. So then you have $1,800 in extra money just for having those contributions come out on a pre-tax basis. So some things that you need to know, which are Irs rules. You must enroll every year with a new election. So even if you're currently enrolled and you're happy with how much you're contributing, you still must re-enroll each and every year. You must spend all funds during the year. The expenses must be incurred during your period of coverage or plan year. You do not have to be covered under the employer's health insurance. You can use to pay for expenses for your spouse or dependent children, regardless of whose insurance plan they're on. The election will remain in effect for the plan year unless you experience a qualified status change. And that would be things such as marriage, birth, death, and divorce. You can access all healthcare funds anytime during the year. So day one of the plan year, even though you have not made any contributions, you can access that full healthcare election. And then funds remaining at year end are forfeited, but you guys do have that $570 carryover, which is a combined amount with the healthcare and the HRA. And then there is no carryover for the dependent care. And that's for both the current year that we're in as well as 2023. So if you have a balance of more than that, you definitely need to look at spending some money so you don't possibly lose anything. So how to avoid forfeitures. Plan for predictable and reoccurring expenses, the expenses that you know you will have during the year. You can always review prior year expenses as a guide. Be conservative. So I always suggest that you start out with a small dollar amount, a dollar amount that you know you're going to use in the year, just so you don't possibly risk losing it. On our website, which is just ASIFlex.com, there's a lot of online tools to help you as well. There is an expense estimator that can help you estimate how much you need in expenses. So you can type in how much you normally pay in prescriptions per year, co-pays, if you have any dental or vision. It's just a nice way to help estimate how much you know you're going to be using. There's also an extensive eligible listing that breaks down eligible expenses or not eligible expenses, so you can see what you can use the accounts for. The FSAstore.com is a great resource for over-the-counter products. You can purchase items through the FSA store, or you can just use it as a resource to look and see what type of items are eligible, which the FSA store has thousands of eligible FSA products, which everything on their store is completely eligible. So it helps take the guesswork out of over-the-counter items that are eligible. And then, of course, remember, you can carry over up to $570 of the healthcare funds, which is a combined amount with the healthcare FSA and the HRA. So now let's talk about the healthcare FSA. So this is just a breakdown of some eligible expenses for the general purpose healthcare FSA. The minimum that you can enroll in the year is $120. The maximum is $2,850. So some eligible expenses for the healthcare FSA are things such as prescriptions, office visit copays, deductibles, x-rays, lab work, hospital, mileage to and from healthcare providers, over-the-counter items such as Band-Aids, sunscreen, braces, first aid supplies, pill holders, blood pressure monitors, thermometers, diabetic supplies, menstrual care products, drugs, and medicines. So drugs meaning any medicated over-the-counter items. So things such as Tylenol and cold medicine, those are all completely eligible without needing anything else. The next is vision exams, eyeglasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses and solutions, reading glasses, LASIK eye surgery, dental exams, x-rays, fillings, orthodontia, crowns, bridges, dentures and adhesives, implants, hearing exams, hearing aids, and batteries. These are all completely eligible for that healthcare FSA, as well as the HRA. They both mimic each other on what is eligible. So now let's look at the limited purpose healthcare FSA, which is that compatible plan for an HSA. So if you or your spouse have an HSA, you can enroll in this to save money on those vision and dental expenses, and you can save that HSA so that way it can continue to grow. So some eligible expenses are things such as vision exams, eyeglasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses and solutions, reading glasses, laser eye surgery, and then dental expenses such as dental exams, x-rays, filling, orthodontia, crowns, bridges, dentures and adhesives, and implants. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of over-the-counter items that now are completely eligible without needing any prescription. So this is just a small list. There's a list available on our website, and then of course I mentioned the Fsa Store, which you could always use as well. That has thousands of eligible products, but this is just an example list of some of those over-the-counter products that are completely eligible without needing anything else, any prescription or anything like there was a few years ago. So the healthcare and the HRA, the funds are available to you day one of the plan year, regardless of how much you've contributed. So for example, let's say you've elected $1,200 for the year. That's $100 per month or $50 per paycheck. On March 15th, you incur a $500 expense. Your year-to-date contributions at that point in time is only $300, but the plan will still pay up to $500. So the full amount to you is available to you day one of the plan year, regardless of how much you've contributed. So this is just a sample planning worksheet for how you can decide how much to set aside for the year. So you can break out how much in prescription copays you pay, any office visit copays, any dental or vision expenses, and then just total it out for the year on how much you actually are going to be spending that you know of. Okay, so now let's turn it over to the dependent daycare account. So the dependent daycare, the minimum is $120. The maximum is $5,000. That is a household maximum. So if both you and your spouse maybe work for an employer where you can do the dependent care FSA, you can both do, $2,500 or any combination of the two. You just cannot go over that $5,000 max. And then if you're married and filing separate income tax returns, the max then goes to $2,500. So some eligible expenses for dependent care are babysitting while you work, preschool or nursery school for young children, before school or after school care, day camps, and these would all be for children under the age of 13. If you have a child who is 13 and above and is not capable of self-care, you can have somebody come into the house to watch them so you can work, but they would just be not capable of self-care if they're above 13. So the dependent care is a bit different from the healthcare or the HRA. This will only pay out up to what you've actually contributed. So let's say you have elected $3,600 for the year. On January 31st, you incur a $500 expense. Your year-to-date contributions at that point are only $300. So the plan will only pay you out $300. Until your next contribution is made, that $200 will just go into a pending status until your next contribution. So you can still go ahead and submit for the full amount that you're actually paying for daycare. And then we'll pay you out what you've contributed as of that point, and then the rest will just go into a pending status until your next contribution is made. So this is just a sample planning worksheet for dependent care. So you could just break out each month and then how much you know you're going to be spending in daycare to figure out how much to elect for the year. So there are multiple claim filing options. The first one, which is one of my favorites, is the mobile app, where you simply snap a picture of the documentation and submit via the app. The next is online through your account detail, where you would scan in the documentation and submit it online. The next listed is the Fsa Store cardless pay, which is also a wonderful feature and also one of my favorites. To do this, you just simply sign into your ASIFlex account, and then you click the Fsa Store to shop. You will then select the over-the-counter items that you wish to purchase. And then at checkout, there's no debit card or credit card needed. You'll just select the Fsa Store cardless pay feature, and ASIFlex will pay the Fsa Store directly from your account, and then the items are shipped to you. So it's a very nice feature with it linking ASIFlex to the Fsa Store, so that way we can pay them directly. So very nice feature to use. And then the last two are toll-free fax or mail. You'll simply complete a claim form and submit the supporting documentation to ASIFlex either by fax or mail. And you don't have to do any one of these. You can, use the Fsa Store, but then if you have a prescription that you purchased, you can then submit it online. You don't have to choose any one. Whenever you enroll in our system, you'll receive a confirmation letter. At that point, that's when you can go out and set up your online account detail, where you'll establish a username, password, and security image. And you will use those going forward. So if you were previously enrolled in years past and you've already done that, and you're still and it was with the County of San Diego, you can still use those same credentials. So you'll have the exact same account. And then it'll be those same credentials for both the mobile app as well as your online account detail. So now let's talk about the ASIFlex mobile app. It's free. There is a video tutorial on our website. You can use a smartphone or a tablet. You simply snap a picture of the documentation and you can submit it right from the pharmacy or doctor's office. You can also check your balance 24/7 to see how much you have remaining in the account. So this is a screenshot of what the account detail looks like. So like I said, if it's your first time enrolling, you'll receive a confirmation letter from us. Then you can go out here to our website and just click create an account where you can establish a username, password, and security image. If you are enrolled in years past, you'll just use those same credentials that you had set up previously. Through your account detail, you can view online messages that are sent to you, as well as submit claims securely. So going over the FSA Store cardless pay again. So it's payment to the FSA Store directly from your health or your healthcare FSA or your HRA. So you could use it for either one. So if you do run into the situation where, because the rollover is going back to 570 this year, if you do run into the situation where you still have money remaining in your account this year, you can always go to the FSA Store and just, stock up on Band-Aids and cold medicines and Tylenol. And there's a lot of wonderful products that are out there that can help you spend down the money so you don't possibly lose it. So talking about the FSA Store cardless pay. So again, you just sign into your ASIFlex account. You then click the FSA Store link to shop. You select your products on the FSA Store and then proceed to checkout. At checkout, you'll just choose the ASIFlex payment option, and then that's it. We'll pay the FSA Store from your account and the items will be shipped to you. So claim documentation for the healthcare and the HRA. The documentation must include for whom the service or supply is provided, what a description of the service or supply, where the name and the address of the provider providing the service, when the date the service was provided, regardless of when paid or billed, and then the dollar amount, which is how much you actually owe. So if the type of expense is covered by your medical, dental, or vision insurance, you can simply submit the insurance explanation of benefits, or the EOB, which is what you get from the insurance company, just breaking down how much they're paying on it and then how much is your actual responsibility. Or you can always submit the itemized statement from the provider. Either one works great for documentation. So if the expense is not covered by insurance, you can simply just submit the itemized statement that you get from the provider. For prescriptions, you can submit a pharmacy receipt, printout from the pharmacy, or the itemized mail order receipt. For over-the-counter products, you can submit the itemized merchant receipt. Please note, do not submit credit card receipts, paid on account or balance forward statements, canceled checks, or pre-treatment estimates. Those would not be eligible documentation. So now let's talk about the documentation needed for the dependent care FSA. So you can either submit an itemized statement of the services from the daycare provider, as long as it includes those same 5 items. Or for dependent care, you can simply have your daycare provider sign the claim form. So that's usually a much easier route. The claim forms are available on our website, and you would just complete the claim form and then just have your daycare provider sign it, just signing off that that's the amount that you paid for the services for the care for your child. So the documentation, if you do submit an itemized statement, must include for whom the service is provided, so your child, what a description of the service, where the name and address of the provider providing the service, when the date the service was provided, regardless of when paid or billed, and then the dollar amount, which is how much you actually owe for the daycare services. Go green. Get your information instantly. You can sign up for email and text alerts, avoid paper mail and delayed mail. You can sign up to have reimbursements made directly to your banking account to avoid paper checks, delayed mail, and trips to the bank. You can also submit your claims on the mobile app or online. It's easy, quick, and results in rapid payments. Also, to sign up for email or text alerts, you can do that online through your account detail at any point in time. So you can update your email address, or you can sign up for direct deposit, or maybe if you need to change the direct deposit information, you could do that all online through your account detail. Okay, so some ASIFlex online resources. So access your FSA account detail. You can review messages that are sent to you, manage your personal settings, like I just mentioned. You can submit claims as well as shop at the FSA store. From the main website, you can view an extensive eligible and ineligible expense listing. You can access the FSA store with thousands of eligible FSA products. You can read frequently asked questions, as well as use our expense estimator, as well as our tax savings calculator. So the tax savings calculator is really nice because it'll actually show you how much you'll save in taxes by signing up for this program, having those deductions taken on a pre-tax basis. We also have several educational videos, as well as IRS forms and publications. Some important dates to remember is that the plan year runs on a calendar year basis. So the new upcoming plan year, of course, runs January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 23. Your open enrollment period, so the time frame that you must re-enroll if you wish to participate in the new year, runs September 26th through October 20th. The deadline to then file any claims for this 2023 year is March 31st of 24. Be sure not to wait until the last minute, as you may miss the date. Okay, here is all of our customer service information, including our website, our customer service email, our toll-free phone number. We also have live chat. Once you've signed into your account detail, you can chat live with one of our customer service representatives. Listed here is our address as well as our business hours. And I will just leave this screen up and we can turn it over to some questions.
Great presentation, Katie. We have quite a few questions, but first one is regarding access to your healthcare funds anytime during the year. The question is, how does it work if I ever leave the county? Would I pay back a prorated amount if I go over? An example, if I use up all my funds, say in January, and I leave the county in June, do I pay back half of the healthcare funds back to the county?
Great question. So the way that the program is designed is the full amount is available to you day one. If you were to leave the county, if you either terminate or retire, either one, you would not have to pay back the overspent dollars. It would just go as a loss to your employer. But that's just how the program is designed, where the full amount's available to you. And then if you happen to leave or retire mid-year, that would just be, unfortunately, a loss to the employer, but you would not have to pay back any of the overspent dollars.
Okay, great. Our next question is regarding Invisalign. Does the FSA or HRA cover Invisalign?
Absolutely. That is a great big expense that we see often, but yeah, it absolutely covers Invisalign as well as orthodontia. So either one are absolutely eligible.
Great. Our next question, may I add out-of-pocket funds to the HRA account?
So no, this is the HRA is strictly employer-funded monies only. If you want to do out-of-pocket money, you can enroll in the healthcare FSA or the limited purpose FSA, but you could not add any out-of-pocket to your HRA. That's strictly those employer flex credits.
Okay. Our next question. I've never been successful at claiming mileage. Would you please go over an example of how to successfully submit a claim and what information we are to provide for the form?
Yeah, great question. So mileage, it changes each and every year. The IRS comes out with the new mileage rates, which you can always find on the home screen of our website. So the easiest thing, the easiest way to claim mileage is we now have a nice new feature in our mobile app where you simply just input the date that you traveled, the number of miles that you travel, and it'll automatically calculate out the dollar amount for your mileage. And then, of course, if you have any other documentation that you want to submit as well, I believe it does still require that you submit some type of image, but you could just write mileage on like a sticky note or a piece of paper. But that's the easiest way to claim mileage is through the mobile app because it does all of the math for you. You don't have to look up and see what the mileage rate is because the IRS does change that each year, all depending on inflation and things like that. So you could do it through the mobile app. The other way is just completing a claim form, and you'll just do the math yourself if you complete a claim form. So you would break down the date of service that you traveled, and you would calculate out the distance from your home to the medical provider and back to your home. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up very quickly. If you think about each time you go to the pharmacy or to the dentist or to the vision provider, or if you go to, Walgreens and purchase an over-the-counter item, you could use that as well as mileage. And then on the claim form, all you would do is input the date that you traveled, the provider that you traveled to, the number of miles, and then you would just calculate that out. And then no other documentation is needed, and just a completed claim form. Unless you do it through the mobile app, of course, then it's just an electronic claim form through the mobile app.
Great. Thank you for that summary. Our next question is, do medical, dental, and RX expenses have to be made in the US in order to be eligible?
No, they do not. So medical and dental visions do not have to be made in the US or prescriptions. You can submit those if they're not made in the US as well. The only thing with that is it has to be converted to US dollars if it's not already. So that's the big thing there is you would just need to convert it to how much it would cost if it's, and some other form of currency than the US dollar.
Great, thank you. Our next question. I've never been successful at answered that one. Does the FSA store charge shipping costs?
Yes, they do. But there is a certain threshold. I think it's like $40 or $50 possibly. So they do have a minimum. If you go over that amount, then the shipping is free. So what I like to do is I wait until I have several things that I want to purchase. So that way I do go over what that threshold is, which I can't remember off the top of my head what exactly that is. But as long as you go over that, then the shipping is free.
Excellent. Our next question, do dependent care providers have to be licensed or can they also be a family member?
So they do not have to be licensed. It can definitely be a family member as long as it's not a dependent of yours. So for example, you can't have your 18-year-old child watching your 7-year-old child and pay them. But if it's, your mother or maybe your sister or, what have you, they don't have to be a licensed professional. The big thing is that they're not a dependent of yours.
Excellent. Next question. How much is the maximum amount we can contribute for an HRA?
So an HRA is employer-only money. So that money is put into the account for you. And Nidra, you may be able to specify kind of how it works with the flex credits on how much will kind of go in there, but you don't contribute to the HRA. It's all employer dollars.
Yes, that is correct. We do contribute, not we, your flex credits are placed into the HRA account, and that would be your unused flex credits. There's a cap on the carryover. So let's say at the end of the calendar year, you have 2,000 in there. We're only able to carry over, I believe the amount is $575 in next year, and I'll double check that number too. And while I check that, I'll go to the next question and we'll come back to that. So Katie, our next question, my hearing aid provider has not been able to obtain the TV adapter from the vendor due to COVID supply issues. If they still cannot get it by the end of this year, December 31st of 2022, will I not be able to use my balance in my Hra Fsa account?
So yeah, unfortunately, if you're wanting to use this year's dollars, it'll have to be done within 2022. Of course, you will have that 570 carryover, but it kind of sounds like you're wanting to use this year's funds on that expense. So yeah, unfortunately, if it's not done until after January, you'll just have to use the new year's money as well as any carryover. So what I would suggest, if maybe you're running into December and it's still not completed and you still have a lot of money possibly on the table that you may lose, is definitely looking at other expenses to submit, such as using money at the FSA store, or submitting for mileage, or maybe some other expense so you don't possibly lose it at the end of the year.
Great, thank you for that explanation. I would like to go back to that question. The individual inquired about the Hra and what's the maximum. The maximum for the plan year 2023 is $5,000, and that is strictly excess flex credits that would go into that. And any remaining unused flex credits, the carryover into the following year would be $570. So in this quote on my 575, the carryover would be $570. Okay. Our next question, Katie, this could be yours. You mentioned divorce, birth, etc., as a qualifying event, but are there any other additional events for dependent care accounts if I need to increase the amount that I selected during open enrollment and increase it after that?
Great question. So dependent care is a lot more lenient as far as qualifying events go. Of course, the four that I mentioned during the presentation are still eligible, but for dependent care, if the cost increases for dependent care, that would be a qualifying event to where you could also increase the amount that you're putting into it. The same as if the dependent care costs maybe decrease for whatever reason, you could then decrease your amount. Or if you change daycare providers, that would be a qualifying event. So there are a few additional qualifying event situations with dependent care.
Excellent. I have an employee who mentioned that they missed the response regarding HRAs covering Invisalign, and that answer would be a yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Going back to you, Katie, how do I submit online orders? And I'm believing this may be for the FSA store.
Okay. So if you purchase from the FSA store, maybe out of your own pocket or any other online retailer, let's say maybe you purchase something from Amazon, you would still get the receipt from them, just showing, what you purchased, the date of service, how much you paid, what it was that you bought, and then you could submit it either online through your account detail. You could submit it through the mobile app. You can fax or mail it along with a completed claim form. So you would still just submit that receipt.
Okay. Oh, great. We have another great question regarding dependent care. My 5-year-old child, I want to get them enrolled in a Spanish class after school through an outside provider. Would this qualify for dependent care FSA?
That may be considered educational. That I would suggest you contact our call center just so they can clarify exactly what type of class, because that, whenever it comes to educational, that would not qualify. But I would definitely suggest giving our call center a phone call, and they should be able to assist you with what exactly would be needed, if anything is an addition is needed to get that type of expense eligible.
Right. Thank you for that response. Let's see, we have another question regarding the FSA. What is the maximum amount you can contribute to your FSA account?
So the FSA, the max that you can contribute for the 2023 plan year is $2,850.
And by the way, Katie, we have a few thank yous here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay, here's another question. Is there an update on the eligible list? If not, how can we be notified?
There is an eligible expense listing on our website that's updated all the time that new things come out. If new things become eligible, just like all of the over-the-counter products that become eligible. So that's all available on our website. There's an extensive eligible expense listing that's updated all the time as new things come out as being eligible.
Great. Another question. Invisalign is now covered by Delta Dental for those interested. Oh, this is just sharing the information. Thank you, Stephanie, for this information you just shared. And she is correct. Invisalign is now covered by Delta Dental, whether you're on the PPO plan or the HMO. For more information on that, feel free to call the benefits division. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you on the dental. And jumping back to an FSA question. Is the FSA max for dependent care higher than $2,850?
Yes. So dependent care is $5,000, and that is a household maximum. So if both you and your spouse can enroll, you can both do $2,500 or any combination, but it is a $5,000 household maximum for the dependent daycare.
Excellent. All great questions, everyone. Please keep them coming in. We're happy to answer all of your questions. I do have one regarding dependent care and summer camp. For this individual, the school district was offering free summer camps, and they did it for 2 years in a row. And if they don't offer free camp again in 2023, can the dependent care expenses qualify for the summer camp?
So the summer camp, it would have to be a day camp for it to be eligible. If it's an overnight camp, that would not be eligible. So it would have to strictly be day camp so you can work. But if so, it would basically be a new provider because it sounds like it's summer only. So that could be a qualifying event mid-year to where you increase the amount that you're contributing or start it if you're not contributing prior to that.
Great, thank you. So for now, those are our questions. We're gonna hang tight and feel free, everyone, to type your questions in the Q&A box. Katie, could you go over the HSA again, if we have 2 employees employed with the county, what their maximum contribution would be if they were both contributing?
Yeah. Are you talking about the
For
you
the
said
HSA?
the
Yeah,
HSA?
correct.
I'm not sure on the limits for the HSA, but for the healthcare FSA, they can both do 2,850. So if both you and your spouse work for the county, or both of you have an employer that offer the FSA, you can both do the IRS max. The same with the limited purpose. You can both do the IRS max there, which is also $2,850. For the dependent care, it is $5,000, and that is a household maximum. So you both couldn't contribute $5,000. It would strictly be $5,000 for the entire household.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to remind everyone too that the County of San Diego open enrollment website is open and accessible, and there's quite a bit of information there too regarding the spending accounts. And you're always welcome to reach out to us via phone call or email if you have some questions that are not being addressed in the information that's on the website.
Another thing that I wanted to remind everybody of is that the last couple of years, the full amount's been able to roll over to the new year. That's going away with the 2022 plan year. So it is going back to just a max of $570. And that is for both the healthcare FSA and the HRA. It's a combination of the two. So just make sure that you're checking your account balances, so that way you don't possibly lose anything at the end of the year. I know that's been a big thing. The county so graciously adopted some COVID relief bills, which allowed for the full amount to carry over, but that's all going away. So just make sure that you're keeping up with how much you have available in the account so you don't possibly lose anything.
Okay, Katie, we have a couple more questions that have come through. Let's see, does the HRA cover prescription colored eye contacts or contact lenses?
Absolutely, as long as they are prescriptions or prescription colored eye contacts, that's absolutely eligible, as well as prescription sunglasses. Now, regular sunglasses without a prescription, those wouldn't be eligible, but if you do get prescription sunglasses, that would be eligible. So yes, absolutely, prescription colored contacts would be eligible as well.
Excellent. That's helpful for me to know. And the next is just a comment, not a question. It's a thank you. So want to be sure to share that with you.
You're so welcome.
Another thank you, Katie.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I would also like to share with employees at this time, when you are in your e-benefits, making your elections during open enrollment, there is a benefit summary towards the end. So you'll click through, make your elections, and at the very end, it'll show you what your amounts for out-of-pocket expenses versus what the county pays for. So it does break down also your flex credits, how much of that would go into either the HRA and what would be applied towards your dependent care. So as you toggle through those things when e-benefits opens up, just wanted to let you know, be mindful of that and pay attention to it. If it seems confusing, benefits division is available to assist. We also have our benefits ambassadors at all the different locations and sites to help you and walk you through that. But yeah, just want to share that with you all. Okay, Katie, we have a question. Let's see. Do I have to have a minimum monthly contribution to make sure I can increase it if I have a qualifying event to increase the contributions later in the year? So, for example, for summer or day camp.
So there is a minimum, which is $120 for the year. But you don't have to have a minimum amount to increase it if you have a qualifying event. So if you have a qualifying event, you can increase the amount that you were already contributing, or you can enroll. So if you weren't previously contributing and you experience a qualifying event where you didn't have daycare and maybe you do now during the summer, you can then enroll mid-year. So you don't even have to be contributing to start at mid-year. But the county does have that minimum for all programs, except for the HRA, of course, because that's employer money. But it's $120 for the year.
All great questions, everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think so.
For those of you who are still with us, I did place in the chat a link, excuse me, to the FAQs regarding spending accounts and just things to know. Everything that Katie just went over is pretty much summarized in the FAQs. So if that's helpful at all in making your decisions on how much to put in your accounts, I just hope that it helps and it's of value to you. Katie, a question has come through. Are any medical expenses, medical, dental, or vision from Mexico covered with the FSA?
Yes, absolutely. The big thing for expenses from Mexico is you will just need to have it converted to English as well as US dollars. But those expenses are absolutely eligible with having them done in Mexico.
And for the person who thanked me for the link, it's my pleasure. We're happy to answer all questions and get you all the information that is going to help you make your decisions. For those of you who are still with us, please feel free to drop a question in the Q&A. Katie, we had a question come through. What is the new rollover amount allowed?
So the rollover amount is $570, and that is a combination between the HRA and the healthcare FSA. So it's a combination of $570 between the two accounts. So it has not been that way for the last couple of years due to the COVID relief bill, but it is going back on the 2022 year, so the current year. So make sure that you're checking those balances to make sure you don't possibly lose anything after 2022. And then it'll be the same, of course, in 2023, where it's a combination of $570 between the two accounts. And you can always check your account balances online through your account detail at any point in time. So you can look at it through the mobile app as well as your online account detail, and it'll tell you exactly how much you have remaining in the account. And like I mentioned earlier, you can always use the FSA store if you run into the situation where you're going to lose some money at the end of the year with the carryover dollars dropping back to what they were pre-COVID. So definitely check those balances and use that money before the end of the year so you don't possibly lose it.
And I would like to emphasize for those of you who are currently participating in some form of a flexible spending account, you will need to re-enroll for next year. It's not automatic for 2023. You do have to re-elect in order to participate in next year. And it looks like we have a couple more questions, Katie. Does the HRA cover cosmetic surgery or procedures like filler or Botox?
Unfortunately, no. So any cosmetic surgery or procedures like filler or Botox, that would not be eligible. The IRS says that no cosmetic, unfortunately, is eligible under the HRA or the FSA, unfortunately.
Okay, and we have another employee who's asking where they can find a list of eligible items.
You can find that list on our website, which is listed here. It's just ASIFlex.com, and there is an extensive list of eligible as well as ineligible items. And then you can always use the FSA store as well to see what over-the-counter items are eligible. And you can find a link to that on our website.
Okay, so try now.
Looks like we're slowing down on questions. Katie, I'm not seeing any additional questions come through. We should be able to conclude the webinar.
Okay.
We'll give or take a couple more minutes just in case. Okay, perfect.
Sounds good.
Okay, I think at this point in time, we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar. All right.
All right,
Katie,
well,
we
thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.
We thank you for making time and for everyone who made time to attend. And I'm wishing everyone a great day. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us.
All right, thank you.